This is all my fault.
That we can agree on.
You see, guys, didn't I tell you that hiring French football champion Zinedine Zidane as our fight choreographer would turn out to be a great idea? Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And every 10 years for the past 30 years, there's another live-action adaptation of the Fantastic Four, and something always goes terribly wrong. In 1994, the Roger Corman-produced version is left on the shelf for shady legal reasons, despite many bootleg copies circulating at comic book conventions. In 2005, the Tim Story-directed version, which is a hit at the box office despite poor reviews, is followed up 2 years later by an even worse PG-rated sequel, which disappoints by comparison. And in 2015, oh well, we'll tell you all about that one in a minute. So as long as the MCU reboot can avoid any on-set fistfights or career-destroying tweets from its director, I'd say that it's got a leg up over its non-MCU predecessor from 2015. The subject for our clobbering and flaming episode of Awfully Good Movies. After a long decade of legal wrangling, the first family of Marvel Comics is about to make its proper debut in the MCU, with Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby trying to save their 60s-era universe from being gobbled up by Galactus, alongside Joseph Quinn and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as the titular heroes of the Fantastic Four. First steps. And with Marvel already set to bring them back up against Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom for Avengers Doomsday, we can only hope fourth time is indeed the charm in the Fantastic Four's 30-year quest for a genuinely good live-action adaptation, as it's been exactly 10 years since their worst cinematic incarnation to date, in director Josh Trank's far darker and younger take on the Fantastic Four, or as it was stupidly spelled in the movie's marketing, Fant-Four-Stick. After Rise of the Silver Surfer's disappointing reception killed Tim Story's chances of continuing with the franchise, 20th Century Fox and Constantine Film decided to keep the property out of Disney's hands a little longer, with a reboot that would not only re-envision the Fantastic Four as teenagers, played by the young hot likes of Whiplash's Miles Teller and House of Cards' Kate Mara, but be co-written and directed by newcomer Josh Trank, fresh off his debut with the acclaimed hit found-footage superhero flick Chronicle, from which Michael B. Jordan would return in the racially swapped role of the Human Torch. Yet the racist backlash that would ensue was nothing compared to the movie's chaotic nightmare of a production, with mandated reshoots from the studio to lighten up its overly dark tone, and Trank seeking the movie's box office chances on opening weekend with a later deleted tweet claiming his original cut was far better than the one currently playing in theaters. Just as it was indeed clobbering time for the new Fantastic Four from angry critics and audiences, with Trank swearing off superhero movies from that point forward, and the Disney-Fox merger 2 years later, leading to Reed Richards and company's slow reintroduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But with so much superhero movie nonsense having passed in the decade since its flop release, let us look back on whether 2015's Fantastic Four deserved to have instead been left up on the shelf alongside the Roger Corman version. Lest you JoBlo viewers out there forget that this Fantastic Four movie is what led to Denny's legendarily cursed tie-in meal of the Thing Burger.
The Thing Burger.
Named as such for its resemblance to one of the creatures from John Carpenter's The Thing. Try combine that greasy bastard with the Fantastic 4-in-1 pizza from Little Caesars, and your arteries are gonna end up resembling the Thing.
It's clobbering time.
Ah, crap.
Pizza.
Time to stretch your arm out to the nearest liquor store and flame on with another round of the awfully good drinking game. Take a double shot when, much like how the Fox logo on the X-Men movies has the X staying on screen longer, this movie's logo does the same for the letter F, as if already daring viewers to give it the same grade themselves. Then our story begins in Oyster Bay, New York, circa the same year as the last Fantastic Four movie, where the preteen Reed Richards is describing his scientific ambitions on career day to his grumpy teacher played by Homer Simpson himself, Dan Castellaneta, making the cameo here he didn't make with the rest of the Simpsons cast in Godzilla 98.
Technically, I'm shuttling matter from one place to another, but once I test on biological materials...
I don't have time to read it. Just give me the gist of it, son.
And the one student not laughing at Reed's ideas is young Ben Grimm, who later finds Richards out in his family's junkyard retrieving materials to build a matter transporter inside his dad's garage.
They don't care about all this?
They don't understand it.
Which Reed demonstrates for his new friend, much to his football-watching dad's annoyance.
Ray! What did you do?
What's going on here?
And not only is that Tim Heidecker playing Mr. Dadtastic there, but guess who plays Ben Grimm's abusive older brother, who stupidly originates the Thing's famous catchphrase?
Hey, clobber inside.
That would be Chet Hanks, the son of Tom Hanks, who has been much mocked online for his white boy rapper persona, Chet Hayes, and presumably abusing his brother even worse off-screen with that Jamaican accent of his.
Big up the whole island, massive, it's your boy Chetana.
Back the fuck off!
Then we fast forward 7 years later to find the finished transporter being presented at a high school science fair by the grown Reed and Ben, now played by a pre-Maverick Miles Teller and a post-Billy Elliot Jamie Bell, both of whom already look significantly too old to participate in a high school science fair, let alone high school.
What? This was a contest for children!
Yeah, and Homer beat their brains out.
And indeed, Homer kicks Reed's butt out of competition for daring to demonstrate a scientific breakthrough at a science fair, but then swoops in the prestigious Dr. Franklin Storm, played very well here by the late great character actor Reg E. Cathey, who's impressed enough to enlist these two as part of the Baxter Foundation, a government-funded research institute that uses young science prodigies to solve the world's many problems.
The failures of my generation are the opportunities for yours.
With one of these prodigies being Franklin's adopted white daughter, Susan, played by Cathey's House of Cards co-star Kate Mara.
Where were you born?
Kosovo.
But Ben Grimm decides to step back to his junkyard to hopefully beat Chet Hayes with that baseball bat of his,
Looks like you're home, buddy.
and leaves Reed on his lonesome with Sue to work under the supervision of government scientist and future mole man Dr. Harvey Allen, played in the 17 years between MCU appearances by Tim Blake Nelson, on finishing off a quantum gateway to an unknown parallel dimension that was originated by Dr. Storm's law-breaking protege,
Victor Von Doom is on here.
or as he was stupidly called before reshoots, Victor Domashev, one of the greatest villains in all of pop culture history, now re-envisioned here in his pre-metal era as a moody, bearded computer hacker played by Toby Kebbell of the Planet of the Apes sequels, who's got himself a secret hard-on for Sue Storm,
Hi, Susan.
Hey, Victor.
and who doesn't want to help the military exploit another planet the same way we have exploited our own planet.
People running the Earth are the same ones running it into the ground.
The Earth is dying. Humanity had its chance.
Dr. Doom over here.
Yes, that's quite literally his name now, so your cleverly referential Starkey quip is invalid. This trio can now become a quartet with the addition of Dr. Storm's cocky, non-adopted son, who is himself an engineer, Johnny Storm, played by a pre-Creed Michael B. Jordan, who was first seen getting busted blowing the tires on his dad's car in a street race to prepare for the inevitable crossover movie F1 vs. F4. And won't get it back unless he works a summer job with his sister down at the science factory, or else he will gladly send this boy off to his auntie and uncle over in Wakanda.
You want it back, you're gonna have to earn it.
I'm not wearing a lab coat.
So make sure you get me one of those badass coats like you gave to Neo. Wait, you are Lawrence Fishburne, right?
I'm not Lawrence Fishburne!
For all the stupid backlash he got, Michael B. Jordan is probably the one actor who best embodies his comic book counterpart right off the bat. Specifically his quippy dialogue that showed how ready he already was to join a proper Marvel movie.
Is that Adolf? Long time. I'm sorry, this is Borat. Borat's a dick.
How funny that Borat himself is now in the MCU as well. But Jordan gets very little time to develop some real chemistry with his co-stars over these dialogueless montages of doing science shit.
Industry, science and technology. Build your own atom storage box.
before they've ended up successfully testing the transporter out on one of Toby Kebbell's CGI monkey co-stars from Planet of the Apes, only for Dr. Allen to inform them afterwards that actual NASA astronauts will be handling the actual mission instead of these supposed teenagers.
Oh, hey, thank you.
Not.
So after the boys drown their sorrows with a flask of booze, Reed drunkenly gets the bright idea to have them run through the transporter anyway, which ended up working so well for Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. With Sue being left behind because... vagina? So Reed rings up his buddy Ben to just drive on down to the secret science lab and head on to an unknown dimension with them for shits and giggles.
You drunk?
Yeah, I am a little drunk. Doesn't matter.
Just like when J. Robert Oppenheimer invited his drunken college roommate to Los Alamos so he could ignite the very first atom bomb test with his farts.
This one's for you, Hitler. Get ready to eat my ass. Line up, bro.
And now I have become death, the destroyer of worlds.
So away the drunken space cadets go to this movie's equivalent of the negative zone from the comics, later codenamed Planet Zero. An alien planet of barren desert that has some sort of glowing green goo bubbling underneath its crust, which Dr. Dumbass almost immediately sticks his hand into and sets off an earthquake, where he seemingly succumbs to the acidic goo consuming his spacesuit.
Oh yeah, this one is definitely going on Instagram.
While the other three try fleeing from the fire and rocks consuming their transporter, while Sue is back on Earth trying to set it home from ground control, only for her to be rendered invisible by the resulting electromagnetic blast.
Gosh, not again.
Another dud.
And Reed wakes up amidst the rubble to the horrific sight of Michael B. Jordan getting killed by sunlight with the rest of the sinners by Van Helsing, Ben Grimm screaming for help inside a giant pile of rocks, and Reed himself finding his limbs have stretched to fantastic proportions.
Help me, Tom Cruise!
It's an admirably dark way to introduce our hero's superpowers that reeks of influence from the filmography of David Cronenberg, specifically his aforementioned remake of The Fly, and which probably wouldn't fly nowadays under the Fantastic Four's current regime at Disney.
Reed, what happened to me?
Ben, I'm coming back for you, I promise!
Reed, do something, please!
What have you done?
But in another sign of obvious editing interference, Reed Richards' escape from the government facility is followed by an abrupt cut to 1 year later, where Harvey Allen explains to an evil boardroom that Johnny and Sue Storm, now codenamed the Human Torch and Invisible Woman, have both come to perfect their newfound powers of fire and invisibility with Sue's new outfits, as well as her obviously fake reshoot wig.
Flame on.
While the deformed Ben Grimm, now codenamed The Thing, is being forced by the military to clobber our nation's enemies, all while he continues to not only be stark-ass naked, but the Thing appearing to lack, well, a thing.
Why?
Don't get me wrong, Jamie Bell does a great job with his motion capture performance that understands the tragic aspects of Ben Grimm's backstory.
Look at me. I'm not your friend. You turned me into something else.
But his insistence on nudity out in the battlefield, while lacking any visible form of genitalia with which to later have sex with a blind Kerry Washington, raises a whole new bunch of questions that I don't want to think about while I'm trying to eat my Thing burger.
I'm going to fix this. You can't fix this.
And with Franklin Storm concerned that the military will soon enlist his children to the same fate, he has Sue cranking up her tunes and tracking down the runaway Reed Richards down in Central America, who's now gained the ability to morph his rubber face into that of Miles Teller's Portuguese stuntman, as he's finally brought back by his resentful old friend Ben Grimm back to the same dimly lit government facility in which 75% of this alleged superhero movie takes place, despite the posters promising us that they would be fighting somebody in a city. And while such a low-key, grimdark approach may have worked wonderfully for Christopher Nolan's and Matt Reeves' Batman movies, the Fantastic Four is simply too much of a joyful and optimistic property for Josh Trank's joyless and pessimistic tone to mesh successfully. with Miles Teller and Kate Mara's visibly miserable performances giving them no romantic chemistry between each other or familial chemistry with their two better co-stars, before it's finally time to head back to Planet Zero and bring back the newly villainized Victor Von Doom, who has somehow survived without food or water the past year on this barren planet, while wearing a green scarf and being fused with his melted spacesuit to look like one of the crash test dummies became the third member of Daft Punk.
That place kept me alive. Power.
What kind of power?
And begins using the powers he's gained from the planet's green goo to kill off Dr. Harvey with yet another Cronenberg homage.
You ever see that scene in Scanners when that dude's head blew up?
More like Dr. Damn! This is a surprisingly gruesome villain intro for a PG-13 superhero movie, but choosing to have your villain finally embrace his iconic costume only 15 minutes away from the end credits is but one of this movie's many unfortunate choices.
Promise me, look after each other.
And make sure that I end up in a way better Marvel adaptation than this before I die in real life. Same goes for you too, son.
But Dr. Doom is way less of a villain when compared to Josh Trank's alleged behavior on the movie's set, getting into a fistfight with Miles Teller, carrying a gun on him from all the racist threats towards the casting of Michael B. Jordan, having his dogs tear apart the apartment he was staying in New Orleans to the tune of $100,000, and getting let go from his planned Boba Fett movie before Fantastic Four even came out, which, considering how that Boba Fett TV show turned out, was probably doing Josh a favor. Yet nowhere is the movie more of a mess than in our hero's final face-off against Dr. Doom on Planet Zero before he wipes the surface of Earth clean with the big blue beam of the Quantum Gate. An ending that was allegedly rewritten by producers Hutch Parker and Simon Kinberg, and directed by co-producer Matthew Vaughn, whose own talents with big fight sequences in the X-Men prequels are nowhere on display in this last battle scene, though Ghostbusters references somehow are.
Victor, don't do this!
There is no victor. There is only doom.
Oh, come on, Ray.
Not that this isn't a way more exciting ending for what's largely been a boring bummer so far, but it's such an insincere and sudden shift in tone, and the lackluster CGI for Mr. Fantastic stretching now looks on par with the last two movies, as are these corny exchanges of dialogue between our heroes and villain.
He's stronger than any of us.
But he's not stronger than all of us. It's who we are now. Maybe it's who we're meant to be.
Oh, but let us not forget the debut of Ben Grimm's iconic catchphrase.
Now!
It's clobbering time!
So glad to have that saying now canonically associated with child abuse. That's not sad at all. So Doom gets zapped out of existence by the energy beam while Johnny closes off the portal, and our heroes head back to Earth, where Reed and Sue share their first genuine sign of romantic affection for each other this whole damn movie at the site of a giant crater of destruction left by Doom's beam. Hooray! The day has been saved? Mission accomplished? But then we cut to the military meeting with our heroes to reward them however they'd like for mostly saving the world. And they demand to be given their own facility for science research where they won't be hounded by the authorities, which they get in the form of Central City, the new base of operations for the newly formed team of... Hey wait, do they even have a name yet? Well, how about we fix that in the stupidest way possible?
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again.
It's fantastic.
Guys, I got it. Ready?
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Yes, folks, that scene has deservedly lived on as an internet meme for the past decade, as it's apparently trying to ape how Avengers Age of Ultron cut to the credits right before Captain America was about to finally say their famous catchphrase. But this instead feels just about as pathetic as Michael Keaton's Vulture popping up in the end credits of Morbius. These four would have been better off rebooting once again and instead naming themselves after another teenage superhero team that Kate Mara was in before this one. Zoom Academy for Superheroes, with Tim Allen as the new Dr. Doom in its sequel, Avengers Doomsday. The only movie that Josh Trank has made in the decades since Fantastic Four was the indie crime biopic Capone, released straight to VOD in 2020 during the pandemic, and starring Tom Hardy as the titular mobster in his last few years, declining from dementia and syphilis. I did not care for this flick at all, and neither did most critics or audiences. But at least I give Josh Trank some credit for trying to get his life and career back together on his own terms since his Hollywood crash out, as he would even write up a 2-star Letterboxd review of the movie in 2019, where he cited his eccentric on-set behavior as that of, quote, a 29-year-old making my second film in a situation more complicated than anything a second-time filmmaker should have walked into, but said he worked with a great cast and does not regret any of the experience, and asked whether any of the many deleted scenes seen in the movie's trailers will pop up in a director's cut, whose release could be demanded from Disney through a Snyder Cut as online petition. Well, to quote Mr. Trank's own words, doesn't matter, as several big CGI sequences were left unrendered in the studio's many re-edits, including cameos from Herbie the Robot and their signature Fantasticar.
Is it next to your flying car?
Which means that the Trank cut is sadly nothing more than a fantasy. But at least Josh did get a nice letter of consolation from Stan Lee himself, who wisely did not make a cameo in this flick. And the resulting marriage in 2017 between Sue Storm and Ben Grimm is still going strong with 8 years and 2 kids between them. But while I must admit there are a ton of promising elements in the final product, including that Joe Dante-inspired opening flashback and an epic soundtrack co-composed by legendary pianist Philip Glass, the relentlessly dour tone and non-existent chemistry between these 30-year-old teenagers is as far as what we're looking for from the Fantastic Four as you can get, with a fine cast of young actors looking as lost and bored as the audience, and an obviously reshot ending that turns it into the kind of superhero slop it's been trying way too hard to avoid becoming. Say what you will about the unreleased Roger Corman version or the corny Tim Story versions, but at least they'll give you far more fun on a bad movie night than these not-so-fantastic four. And if Marvel Studios really had the courage, they would go full Deadpool for the next Fantastic Four adventure and embrace the R rating so that Ben Grimm can ditch the spandex and let his thing burger fly.
That is fantastic.
On the enjoyableness continuum scale from full to Bruce, Fantastic Four can at least say it's no longer the low point for non-MCU Marvel adaptations, and clobbers into a not-so-fantastic 4 out of 10. And if the Roger Corman version can get a documentary about its nightmarish production, then why the hell can't Disney Plus do the same for this one? Until next time, this is Jesse Shade for Awfully Good Movies, eagerly awaiting to see which food franchise will be providing merchandising duties for the next Fantastic reboot in 10 years. My money is on Popeyes.
Love that crap. Popeyes.
Hey, kid, you can't smash it. Hey, kid, I'm really sorry about your plane.
You're a dick.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.